Welcome to day 5. As I mentioned earlier, painting requires a lot of hard work. So today we're going to finish it, maybe 10-15 minutes, just a few little touches to finish up the work. So let's get going. So this is what the painting looks like at stage 4. And now, as I mentioned, we're going to do stage 5. So here's some little details. We're going to be working on the blossom. We're going to be working on the town back there. But also in the foreground, that requires a little bit more work, and then we'll be done with the painting. Okay, so let's get going with some of the blossom right in here, through the trees. So it requires a little bit more work, and then we'll go back to the foreground, which requires a little bit more work as well. So as we mentioned before, nothing is pure white. The blossom is white, we just say it's white blossom, but there are a lot of other colors in there, including bits of green, bits and pieces like that. We want to make sure we capture that as well as we can. The size of the brushes in Impressionist painting is smaller than you think. It requires a lot of work, but some of the smaller brushes, and we're not doing details, we're just little touches of colors there and there. It's nothing much. I'm not painting flowers, I'm painting an impression of flowers, of blossom, actually. And also remember, cool colors go back, warm colors come forward. So the blossom background needs to be a little cooler, so I'm adding a little bit of blue in there, just to make sure. There. All right, now a little bit more on the branches, because it do require a bit more work. So ultramarine, permanent rose, a little sienna. We've got a nice sort of grayish color right there, a little purple. It's a nice color. Let the brush do the work. Don't press, just a few little touches like that. Just get an impression, is that word again. A little busy in here. All right, now I'm going to come back into the foreground. My cinnabar, my permanent in here, my raw sienna. I will talk about all those colors when the painting is finished. We'll go back to all that. All right, let's put some of this in the foreground. Make it look kind of busy in here. So the grass, the impression of the grass is vertical. So I'm not going to be doing this. To begin with, I just block the color like that, but now, towards the end of the painting, we want an impression of the grass, the sort of vertical strokes, which are very important to give the impression of the grass, without actually painting every blade, just an impression. So I'm in here as well, right in there. And you can really see here the importance, again, I mentioned that earlier, but the importance of preparing your canvas, making the color, because those colors back in there, if they were white, you'd be blocking white holes non-stop. But instead, it becomes part of the painting. Now, obviously, because it's an impressionist landscape, I wouldn't prime my canvas a dark blue or dark red. I would if it was an abstract, perhaps. But when Impressionist work, when something that's very neutral, that's going to be married really well with the rest of the painting. As you can see, it does marry very well. So that's a very important point. I always tell my students, have you primed your canvas before you start your painting? Very important. Just right in there, some in here, a few touches there. Now, I'm taking a slightly smaller brush, and I'm going to do a few impressions of little blades right in the foreground here, right in the immediate foreground. Just a few little touches like that. Nothing precise. You know, we're not painting a fence here. Just a few little impressions like that. Some this way, some that way, until we have the impression that we want. And some of those little holes right there, you can block the bits and pieces, but keep some of them. The colors works really well in the landscape. Looks very natural. All right, go back a little bit on the town now, just a few little things. So a little bit more work at the back, and the painting is really almost done. It's just a couple little branches back in here, just to make sure that town is behind the tree and not on top of the trees. A little bit more work on the actual town, and then we'd basically be done. I'm going to create a little bit more of a shadow right there. Shadow from the roof right in here as well, just a couple of touches. I want to put some near white, but not quite, right here. There. A couple of touches back in here. And then let's just take a look at it and see what else it really needs, which I don't think it needs much more. So every time you do a straight line like that, it creates a structure. Just a few vertical lines, horizontal line, you got a house. We're not actually drawing a house. I'm going to give that a roof. Maybe a couple of strokes in here. This is an interesting house back there. And I want to create a sharper edge right there. There. Now we got a house. There. You know, you could do a lot more work on that, but I think you get the idea. That looks fairly finished. You could go on and on at the risk of overworking the painting. But I think that's kind of a very fresh impression of the landscape that we we dealt with. So I'll be giving a sort of a recap of the painting on another video. I thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you soon on my channel, Marco Bronzini Art School and Studio. So this is the image I used, and as you can see, I did not reproduce a photograph of a photograph, rather did a painting of it. And that's a big difference between an illustration and a fine art painting. So this is the end of day 5, and we'll be doing a recap, and all the details will be on that.